All right, well, I'm afraid we're stuck with the 2x view, which I can't do anything about. My new camera, I looked for it, I found it. It doesn't have a chip in it, it uses a different battery. I'd have to set up all kind of different things, and man, is it yellow. And there's no way I can afford another camera at this point. So, we're stuck with this one, I'm afraid, for the near future. All right. Looking at this, first thing we do is random events. Now, in short scenarios, most of the 3 turns advanced scenarios, the random events are limited, I think, to union bridging things. And that's in part to make sure that those short scenarios aren't heavily disrupted by some of the events. But this is a full scenario, so we'll roll the whole thing. We get a 3. Lee is sick. That will be helpful to the Union. Currently, the Union seems to be doing pretty well. So, Union depots, I don't want to move any. These guys have me in supply. The only place I can move them to is down here, which obviously isn't going to work, and vice versa. So we'll leave those alone. No embarkation. No railroad destruction. I'm not sitting on any with sufficient force. It takes a whole turn to do, so it's kind of iffy. So now we go to the reinforcements. I believe this says it's on turns 3 through 7. So I shouldn't have to do that. I'm going to look it up to make sure. Yeah, that's indeed what it says here. So attachments is the only thing that I get to actually do. And what we do there is we look. So Stuart is sitting here with Hampton. I could create 1 force out of that. Given Lee being sick and Sheridan having a couple of strength points, I think I'm going to do that. And what I do is I'll put him back here. Hampton goes over in the Confederate cavalry box. I think they're all 6s. No, I got one crappy one there. I got a 4 down here, Kaunitz or whatever. And these 2 get replaced with a Confederate 2 instead. I don't think there's anyone else who can combine. Stacks don't look big enough. Which means we jump back into the action cycle for this second turn. The consequences of which I want to discuss. I took some of my units, my strength points that I lost, off of some of the Richmond garrison guys. 2 of them pretty average guys, and one of them, what the hell is this? Haggood, who's pretty lousy. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think this is covered in the... Ooh, I got to 1 times. Excellent. As far as I'm concerned, removing them in that way takes them out of the game. I can't find anything in the rules that says one way or another, but they haven't been attached to a corps. So it's sort of a cost, but it's not a very significant one. I'm probably not going to need all my divisional commanders. These guys don't die. And 3s are about as weak as I have, so that should be okay to lose them. Let's roll, see what thoughts I have, if any, at this point. So that's going to give a Union choice first. I'm not sure what the situation means. I don't know if I'm going to want to get a jump with the Union, who are already sort of bypassing the Confederate line, and that might be very valuable. Or if I want to push it on the Confederates and make them burn some of their actions ahead of time. It's always, you know, I think the Confederates screwed up by trying to make the Union burn last time, but we're not sure. I'm going to back away a little bit from the details of play, but at this moment, I'm going to be moving Warren because he's behind the Union line, basically, and I kind of want to do leapfrogging. If I don't do that, someone might get cut off where they can't really move forward as well as I'd like them to. On the other hand, it means I don't get as deep a penetration as I'd like. And also, if things get clogged up down here, Warren's not available to join in on an attack to try to break a Confederate line. Again, these are the kind of decisions that I find really, really tough. Once I've played a few turns, I start to get a better feel for it. But, you know, first time in a long time. So, well, we'll play it out. See what he gets. He's not going to force march. All right, so I've got 9 movement points. One of the advantages I have is I've got Greg sitting over here. And so he's kind of screening my way down. I want to get control of this ford as best as I can. Now Sheridan's kind of screening it, but he's not sufficient to hold up against Hill if it comes down to it. So let's see, we're talking 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 8, 9. That gets me only to here. Shit. And the way the game works, moving off-road is just painful. I mean, going through a clear is fine, but going through roughs, you're better off staying on the road. So said we could get him down to here. He gets rid of his breastworks, and he flips over. And I'll come back with a kind of overview of what happens, I hope, you know, partway through the actions and when something interesting happens. At this point, moved Sedgwick as well, getting him to that important ford. If I had another movement for the Union, I would have probably tried to push a cav unit down to cover this bridge. That could be very valuable. This is just stream, so I can cross it as long for supply purposes. That's what the game's all about. As long as there's no rain, you know. So I'm not terribly worried about getting to these quickly, but they could be important at some point. Now, notably, this railroad is the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac, and it's worthless. And the Virginia Central, I think, is only worth, well, that's worth 6 points. So that's a worthwhile one to kill. And I might want to do it here, but it would be advantageous to me to break it down where the Confederates might actually be using it. I don't think they're going to be doing much up here in the north. Anyway, in response to Sedgwick and Warren moving, I threw Ewell down here. Maybe I should have chosen Longstreet, but I managed to get him into the marshy, the stream across the marsh, and sitting on an important roadway. That's going to make it harder for the Union to push too much deeper right away. But they've gotten through the wilderness in turn 2, which, you know, is pretty good. Let's see what the next roll is going to be. It's going to be a Union choice. That cav is less important right now. Hancock's not going to be able to do anything too exciting at this moment. I think I'm going to punt that over to the Confederates. And I think the Confederates probably want to get Longstreet moving. I'm a little worried he might get cut off. This space is safe to move through, which is important because there's only 2 strength points there. It's a secondary zone of control. It doesn't cross where there's no road. But the Union could interfere with his movement. Hill, I want to leave where he is if I can because he's disordered. We get a big 11 movement points. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 9. Keep them close to each other. I might be wanting to drop divisions and such now. That's always tough for me because the Confederates just don't have the points right now. They're looking at larger forces than they are. and all they could do is break off a small force that's not sufficient to cover things. But if the Union starts trying to skirt around edges with divisions, I think the Confederates have to do the same. Got that. Here I am just rolling away, and I don't think there's too much of interest. We're going to see possible delays happening over there with whoever that is, Colquitt. And Burnside's over here. There's really not a lot that's important to move at this point. This turn is going to go pretty quickly. So I'll just back away and show you the end point. Tie roll, the Union's gotten a couple in a row. Confederates move these guys to get them out of the way. Their next step is really the only thing they have left that they want to move is Sheridan. And unfortunately, he's in a zone. I should have probably moved Sheridan before I moved. I think it was Ewell who was sitting there. I'm not sure. Maybe Longstreet. No, I think Longstreet was back here. Anyway, this was a mess up because I move here and I have to stop, or I could attack, but Gregg has breastworks. I don't have the Lee bonus. There's not a lot going for me. So we'll roll to see how far Stuart gets to move. 8, 15. Well, there's 12. That's why you don't want to do this. Oh, that's painful. 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm ranging around where I don't want to be if I do this. The other side is 6, 12. Oh, I can do this. 13, 14. We'll go to here. Feel somewhat comfortable. At this point, the Confederates are going to pass, and the Union's going to get to push its forces forward. A little bit of repositioning over there. Union's forced to move Burnside. By the way, the Confederates haven't actually had to pass. They've been handing Union activities each time, which is slightly different because Hill is still available if something weird happens. Burnside has moved 3 movement points down to here. Unfortunately, he needs, I believe, 4 movement points to burn that railway. So he only has 2 left. Got a 3 roll, nothing too exciting. I could move further down to Toddsburg and ignore this railway station. It's a victory point, though. You know, how many victory points do I need? How fast do I need Burnside's troops down there? There's only 6 strength points. 6 is a goodly amount. What I can do instead, let's go back. I believe I can detach. Let's see when that is done. And I can move a small force forward from him. So, what's in here? Detachment. I think I have to declare it before I do the march. Let me see. No, I can drop it off as I begin the march, which means, at least I think I can. Let me make sure. Yeah, I can even do it in mid-march, which makes sense, right? If I want a garrison or something, I would have to detach. So now I look at what it costs me to burn, you know, how many manpower I need to burn a railway station. Because I can get a better commander at burning things. I need a combat value of at least 2. I can't, unfortunately, leave 4 strength points behind under other commanders. Burnside always has to have some strength, but I could detach 2 2-point units from him, which sounds like a neat idea. Let's see. Burnside is this green thing over here. Oh man, his sub-commanders suck. All right, well, let's make our chances of being able to burn things as good as possible and give him, and that's not necessarily saying that his sub-commanders are that terrible, but Burnside's whole command structure is that terrible, is the idea. So in terms of mobility, etc., Burnside's leaves them with bad orders, you know. So here I'm going to go 1, 2. Ooh, actually I can't move that far. It's 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, given that, I'm going to flip them over. I thought we were going to get to see a railway station burned. It looks really unlikely right now. 2, 3. I need to roll a 5 or higher. The Union tells the Confederates they have to go, they pass, and now I know that I'm free to do things. So let's see if Wilcox can get his roll. He only gets a 2. That gets him this far. It's going to be hard getting Burnside's troops back together. We'll roll for Stevenson. Yeah, whatever. I guess this is a little better. Yeah, that didn't work out too well. And luckily, I'm not facing anything back here. And now I've got to move Hancock, and I've got the choice. Sheridan probably wants to reorganize. I've got the choice of whether or not I want to get Gregg out of there. I don't think he's doing me any good there. I can't imagine that the Confederates are going to push back north. So I'll just take care of those. After a lot of counter flipping, we got Hill entrenched and recovered. Not exactly where I want him. That entrenchment may interfere with movement, but I doubt it. So, and otherwise our line is down here. The Union has to be kind of careful because this is a minor river and bad things could happen if I just push up against here. I kind of have to defend this. Gregg was hoping to come around, but he was in, because he was in such an annoying position for the Confederates, he was also in an annoying position to make his way home. Stuart being here actually prevented him from just zipping across. So, Burnside's corps is spread all over hell and creation doing nothing. How Burnside's. Confederates win the first action. This is where this game gets kind of tricky in terms of what you want to do. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, but if I give it to the Union, what they're probably going to do is either move Sedgwick down, and if he has enough movement points, launch an attack here, or move Warren into Hancock's space, if possible, because both Warren and Hancock can launch attacks with support. I hate doing this, but what I think the Confederates are going to do is they're going to activate Longstreet, taking the initiative themselves, and entrench. Now, the problem with this is it slows me down, which means, okay, now Longstreet's a lot tougher on size with other things, and I'll be attacking across the stream, which is, well, like a 2-point, yeah, 2-point penalty. So now what the Union can do is swing around Longstreet. And I really don't want to entrench Ewell. Although if the Union starts to set themselves up to fight on this line, I'm stuck kind of doing so. But it's one of the problems is when you commit to a defense in a location, you're now not going to be able to move out of there as quickly. And this is how the Union can slip around the rear. I don't know what I can do about it, to tell you the truth, though. And the breastworks gives me a nice facet in that this space is in my zone. This space is in my zone. It's very hard for the Union to slip through and attack everything. But I feel like I've committed a unit to not moving that maybe I didn't want to do. And ouch. Got the next initiative and move Warren down that far. Now the Confederates have the initiative again. if they want it. And that's the question. Do they want to force the Union to play out the rest of their moves before I decide where my defense is? Or am I worried about Hancock maybe force marching? Well, Hancock's not as close as he looks. And in fact, I cheated. Didn't I? No. Warren slipped down this way. But Sedgwick and Hancock can't cross this river. That looks like it's a minor river as opposed to a creek. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but everything around it is a minor river. So yeah, there's a line on one side of it at least. So I think I can force the Union to go and continue repositioning. But this Warren move is forcing the Confederates to fall back to another line. The Union to go, and they have the initiative now and will probably force the Confederates to go, was maybe a bad move because now Gregg streamed down and has grabbed this bridge location here, which means I have to chase him off. That's not necessarily that big a deal. He's either going to run this way or that way, so if I can get a big force there. So, yeah, the Union's going to make the Confederates go, and the Confederates don't particularly want to move the things over here. They're pinning Sheridan down. I don't know how much danger he can get himself into. Cav is weird. They're not going to be able to do a whole hell of a lot, but you've got the pieces, so you've kind of got to use them, or get to use them, and that gives you an advantage. So I think the Confederates are going to piddle around, and the Union may piddle around over here with, sorry about the speed, the Burnside stuff as well. It's forcing the Confederates to go. Hill and Stuart are under here. Ewell has marched up to here, and it's time for Gregg to skedaddle. He would have taken on Stuart, but he's not going to take that on. And I have to remember how this works. First of all, it disorganizes. Yuck. Costs Ewell a couple of movement points, which means Ewell's not going to be able to get into as good a position as I would like, but he's going to be able to take that hex, which is kind of the important thing. And on a 6, bad things happen to Gregg. We'll let the Union die roll. And now I have a retreat 4 hexes. I'd like to keep pushing southward. But nope, can't do it because Hill got in the way here. And he's big enough that he generates a zone there. So we got to retreat this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh well. And now Ewell's got enough movement to push into here. Do I want to go another hex up to here for some reason? This gives me the river line. I think I will sit Ewell right where he is. And we'll just call that the end of him. I don't think there are any Confederate leaders left. So it's all on the Union now. At the end of all this, we got Burnside working his way down. He burnt the Orange Courthouse. We could have left Stevenson behind to do that. But I feel like I want all these different pulses. Moving each of these separately gives me more opportunity for delay, which is a good thing. And beyond, so I don't particularly need to gather them together. And by burning this with Burnside and moving to here, I've got a pretty good chance of burning this one. This is 2 victory points. Rather than, if he rolls a 1, then he's got the option to keep moving instead of burning first. But I'll probably want to gather them together at some point, though, and the question is when. Now, supply is only checked in the administrative phase. That's the only time you're going to lose forces due to supplies. And you're able to do the Union supply base. So I can kind of outrun my supply a little bit. And I've done that. Sedgwick's pulled down here, Wilson over here. These guys are out of range of that, but that's okay. because this base will be completed over here. And then I'll be able to move my depots over at the beginning of the administrative phase. And really they can all move down there because even Hancock pushed over here. That was a hard call. He could have just sat here across from Longstreet, but Longstreet, or tried to batter his way through. Battering his way through doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of if I have to commit Warren to help with it. Unfortunately, though, what it means is all my Union forces are on the other side of, what is that? Mattapony. I don't know my Virginia rivers well enough. There are a whole lot of them, right? And, you know, Wilson's not going to be able to hold this against any determined attempt by an infantry unit to chase him away. He'll have to run. So, but what it does is with him holding this, it kind of means the Union can try to slip around behind the Confederates again. Now, ideally, I think you want the Union marching down this way for as long as they can. So to some extent, the Confederates have kind of gotten a victory by pushing the Union on the other side of that river. There are only a limited number of of crossing points from it. But on the other hand, until you get down here, you're tied to this supply line. So you need to have your cross from the river there. You're not going to be able to draw supplies off the rails. So I don't know how much option there is. I think the further you go, I think the more I think it's very, very hard to maintain a link across the river and attack through here without having some really ugly attacks taking place. So I don't feel too bad about this. We have one person who's didn't get used, which is Sheridan, because he was disorganized and wanted to reorganize, and he might as well get his breastworks out of that. He could build a bridge too. Might make sense. Why not? We'll drop a Union bridge there. Just to show you how it's done. It does serve some purpose, which is I could get cut off on one side. And this is a minor river, yeah. The Po at that point. So that gives me, you know, another potential supply line if I get cut. But it's not going to be of any importance. And everybody else just unflips. And we push to the third action cycle. You're allowed to outrun your supply, though. Just make sure you got it hooked up so that it works again when you get to the end of the turn. It comes with a very good historical compendium of the game, the history played out as the game, which is very helpful. You know, it gives you links of, you know, where actions are happening on each of the turns. I am avoiding fighting a lot more than Grant did. And historically, he tried to batter his way through. Now, it may be that I've undermined the Confederate positions well, or it may be that by abandoning the straightforward attack and going behind the river there, I'm kind of negating some of Grant's potential advantages. I don't know if I always do this. It doesn't look familiar to me. I'm used to the fighting being on each of these river lines, which is much more historical. Standing there, battering the Confederates, and then once they entrench, shifting and moving. The problem, of course, is your supply tether. It only goes so far. So out of here, 1, 2, 3. You're talking out to about there. You can't really go further than that. You can outflank to the left, but you can't go deep based on the rail line up here. You can keep outflanking to the right, and that's historically what Grant kept doing, but he fought the battles in between, and I really haven't been. I've been just kind of, you know, as long as I don't have to fight and I keep gaining ground, let's just do that. Another thing that I haven't done is Union cavalry was used to make raids down here doing burning along here. Now, of course, the Union would then have Burnside with the main army instead. The Cav can be quicker at burning the stations. However, as long as I'm not really devoted to fighting, then I don't need Burnside's troops quite as much, and he could actually handle these fairly effectively. And the cavalry is very useful in maneuver battles. I can force the Confederates to chase my cav away and spend movement points doing that. And that makes it easier for me to make these crossings of the river, potentially. At least that's my thinking, I guess. I don't know. First couple activations in this third action cycle, players have been grabbing the initiative when they can get it. The Confederates got the first one and pushed Longstreet over here. Not where he wanted him. They wanted to chase Wilson away, but I couldn't make the attack. I wouldn't have had enough movement points. After that, the Union got 2. Hancock over here. Again, not where he wanted him, but it's across the river and within primary supply. And we might be able to push, some combat capability up against, say, what is that? The Polecat Creek. Warren was my next shot, and I really had no good options for him. So he ended up ducking and is on the other side of the Mattapony, which is not where I want him. If I get Sedgwick moving, I can slide him around the back and see if I can get him out here. So that's really what this is coming to. Now, you might have wanted to move Sedgwick first, but then if I did that before Hancock, I'd be giving up this position. And then Warren was kind of in a, he might get lucky and might be able to make the cross as well. I didn't need to have somebody protecting the way Hancock is that position. But the Confederates get the first action here, and that probably means they're going to move one of their commanders. I would guess Ewell. Although Ewell's got kind of a problem. There's no road here. And this isn't exactly what I want. I could end up facing Hancock directly, but again, not exactly what I want to be. The swerve around here isn't good, but you almost always want to move from the back of your line first. Just because it'll be hard to get Ewell out of where he is once Hill moves. I roll of 3 plus Ewell's movement of 4 puts me up to a 7. 7 means I could do a few things. I could hit Hancock, actually. I have some advantages here. I only got 7 strength points to 11, but I make up for that with the support of Hill. If I could drive him out of there, that would be kind of cool. But if I can't, then Ewell's stuck in a bad place. Alternatively, I could come back down this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in with Longstreet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's no good. I can't drive right down there. I thought I could. Yeah, I thought I could just drive across the creek and get here, but I don't think I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can get to that hex. 4, 5. I could get to this hex. Not enough movement to make the attack. 1 more point would have allowed me to. Yeah, this is not good. I don't know what to do with him. Uh-oh. I'm going to drive by Hill down to there. That means Hill will be able to make a charge down this way. Now, I kind of erred. I should have chosen Stuart first on a screening move here, and then Ewell could come through. I don't really have the feel for the game that I'd like yet. I realize these things just a little too late, don't I? And now it's the Union. And the Union is going to try to get Sedgwick around and on the other side of the river. And it's not a trivial move, but he's got enough movement points. He should make it 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, barely. I'm allowed. Stacking's unlimited, but you only have 16 points that count in combat. All right. The Union has forced the Confederacy to go first a couple of times. First is Colquitt moving up here. Second is Hill is going to go aggro on Hancock, I believe. That's an expensive move, but I've got Ewell to support it. We'll see if he can make it. Let's see what we got here. It's a 9. It would cost me 4, 5, 6 to go in directly, or 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. So we'll go up this way. I've got support now, and that's important. It's 11 to only 8. So we're at even. And not really what I want to do, but if I can drive him out of here, I can put a threat on the rear of the Union Army and maybe catch them up against the river there, and then they'll be in a whole world of hurt. So like I said, we're at even. The Union gets 2 in their advantage. That puts us to -2. The defender is an 11. He's just fatigued. He was already. And the attacker was an 8. He takes 1 and a disorder. So that's going to drop this to a 7. Flip it. Hill is fatigued, and there's a casualty assessed against the Confederates. And remember, their casualties count more. So that did not work out well. I probably should have moved down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to here into the woods and tried to pin things, but I'm always looking at, I could get this really tremendous result. Yeah. Yeah, I'm no Lee. All right, not by a long shot. Burnside does a little action here, no burning. I didn't get enough movement on him. Rolled the 1. Stevenson didn't get it either. It's possible Wilcox could. Eventually, Stuart had to move. I slammed him down there so that he can do a cav delay on whatever forces try to pass through there. But now the Confederates are out of action points to move, or units to move, which means the Union gets to choose first. And I think what we want to do is maybe try to chase Stuart at a disadvantage here. The woods don't matter because it's not infantry. I'd be at a -1, but if I can chase Stuart out of there, that would be helpful. What are my chances of that? That's the question. He's not going to run, so I have to beat him in battle. But let's see if Sheridan can do it first. He probably doesn't have enough movement to get down there, does he? And he'd be coming from the wrong end. 14. He'd need 17 movement points to get down there. That would be a roll of 11 or higher. It could happen. Let's see. And if he doesn't get that much, I don't know what we do. We're not really in a position where we want to go do a deep raid yet, because we wouldn't be in supply at the end of the turn. Oh, we get it. We could destroy that bridge, but no real reason. That didn't work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Actually, we only needed 16. And we're going to hit Stuart. Stuart will fight. This is at even. No, it's not at even. It's at +2 for the Union, or +1 for the Union, because there's a supporting leader in that hex. It's only per hex. We want Stuart there. The Union gets a net of +4. That's what happens when Lee is sick. Defender's weak. He's going to take a disorder and a rout. We get an attack or advance, and I believe we have one more movement point. Two more hexes I could go into. If I'm here, I can fall back with a retreat. So we'll go there. I think that causes the Confederates some problems. I'm not sure. I do not want to move Greg. I got only one guy left. Let's see if Wilcox gets anywhere interesting. Gets an interesting die roll, which would be a 1, 2. He'd need a 6. He doesn't get a 6. Join Stevenson here to no effect. And I think that's the end of the round. We get our recovery, but then we get the end of turn stuff. Considering whether or not Wilson wanted to build a bridge, I realized I couldn't build this one with Sheridan. It's only infantry that can build bridges. I don't think it had an effect. I mean, I know it didn't have an actual effect, but I don't think it even had an effect on any of the Confederate strategy or anything in that sense. The turn, there's no railroad destruction, no guys in C. The Valley Cycle is done for the game already. Union supply base. We're going to upgrade this. We need it. We get a little garrison there. And whatever. I believe that puts everybody into supply if we move all the depots down. The 9th doesn't really matter. They're still operating out of here. And yes, they're still in supply. Although I'm going to have to shift them at some point. There'll be an interesting set of reinforcements coming. That is... down to May 13th. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be able to get another turn in, but within an hour. But it feels kind of pathetic to just do one turn. So, let's load it up.